G'day everyone, welcome back to Steve's Place Down Under. Today we're going to pull the engine out of this grader and see what happened. Last weekend I was using it to do the roads around here and it stopped driving, so I would say when I put the engine in I didn't replace the clutch. It's the original clutch out of it's a Galion 503 grader. I converted it to a 2H Toyota out of a Land Cruiser and I put the Galion clutch back in it. So at the time it was okay, but we'll see what sort of condition it's in when we pull it out. So in the days where I put this engine in this, it was years before I did YouTube. This grader came from a local, well not local, probably an hour away I suppose, motocross track. It used to do all the tracks and it had a UD236 in it, which was an international motor, and it threw the leg out of bed and they wanted to get rid of it. So we took the grey Kenworth and the little float trail and went, no, it was a flat top at the time. They lifted it on with a 50-ton excavator. And the bloke at work lined it up for me, one of the other mechanics, and we went and got it, and then we actually drove it off the float, because in those days I was field service, and I had an oxy set on my service truck, and I poked the oxy in through the side of through the hole in the block and cut the rod off. Blanked off the oil gallery in the crank journal, and we started it up and drove it off. Of course we flushed the sump out. There's a plate under that. We flushed that out, and we used it for a while like that. I diverted the injector line back to the fuel tank, and we used it for a while, and then she started rattling again after a while. So I took it out and found a replacement. I'm just going to turn the fuel off to it. I can probably stay there actually. So I did a job for a bloke who had a 60 series Land Cruiser, and he wanted to put a later model engine out of a 80 series in it. So I did the job for him, and I didn't charge him because he looks after the RSL around here. He's pretty high up in that, like the veterans and that, which I like. So I said, what are you going to do with the engine? He said, oh, I just have to get rid of it somewhere. I said, so I got it off him and done some measurements and end up working out that it had fit in here after a bit of machining and modifying, and it's been good ever since, until the weekend where the clutch came out of it. So well, I hope that's all it is. When it rolls, the gears still grind, which means everything's still turning. I hope it's not a chain, but I don't think so. There'd be some different signs of that. There'd be different symptoms. Hopefully you can still get parts, or I may have to get someone to put some new material on it. Thank you all for your concern about our dog too. We're slowly getting over it. It's been 3 weeks now. Finger sword it's still black, but it's healed enough to be usable again. Still very fresh here, but we have to move on. The other little dog's there. She's sort of lonely now a little bit. This is a 2H Toyota engine out of obviously a Land Cruiser. It's a naturally aspirated from factory, but he's put an aftermarket turbo on it, so obviously not standard with the turbo. Look at that rusty water. That'd go well in a cup of coffee. You wouldn't even have to put coffee in it, just milk. That'd be out of that old radiator we used. That'll dry, it's not oil. The beauty of having a gravel floor in your workshop. So for those of you who watch Diesel Creek, I know a lot of you have mentioned him to me. This is the same grader he has, but this was a diesel from factory. His is petrol, I think. A lot of you tell me to watch him, which I used to, but I try and support the smaller channels now with the time that I get to watch. Pipe down there, is it? In front of the buggy there somewhere. Can't fall like that. Okay, there she is. It's a mighty 2H. Maybe a potential water leak there fairly soon too. I don't really understand what I've done there. I think that's where I had the injector line diverted to through that. I think these only run one fuel hose, that's why that's not hooked up. I think it's blocked off. They return back into the system, I think. Yeah, it does, back into the pump itself. Okay, we'll get the back section off it, the radiator out. Then it's only mounts and bell housing really. So there's 2 bolts through the bottom that hold this whole shroud and radiator assembly in, and then we should just be able to lift it out. Once the bonnet's off, which it is. Oh, this something's going to hurt here. A bit of pipe. Much never sees use when I put this back in. She must have had a bit of red on her at some stage of that number plate there.
She's going to put that in and have a look and see when she was last. A bit of red on. Oh, that could be bloody metric, could it?
It might be. I don't know if it's a Toyota starter though. I think it's a Galion one because it's on the original flywheel. Into one. Oh, it's just the hose, Mick. Can you guide that out? Needs a flush, doesn't it? There'll be matchbox cars and everything coming out of it if we leave it here too long. Okay, I'm just going to disconnect the temperature sender, which is fairly bodgy. I think it was Imperial, because the Toyota's obviously metric. There's some reason I've done it like this, but it works. Has done so far anyway. Need to get a longer screwdriver. This engine's got nearly 850,000 kilometres on it, original, never been pulled apart. And she started using oil when he was on the highway. It doesn't use any here, it doesn't even breathe heavy. So he just wanted to update it. Perfect for this job. It's actually got nearly too much power, but I hope that's not why it tore that clutch out. So not everything's hooked up. These had an electronic control on the throttle for start and stop and all that sort of thing. I just come around here and turn it off like that. I've only ever hooked the throttle up in the glow plugs really, and the fuel, just enough to make it work. I don't know if I've blocked that or it's the Hornets, but it's blocked anyway. Okay, there's one engine mount bolt here and some bell housing bolts. I think that's all. I don't know why that's so tight through that hole. I'll have to unbolt that and take the whole mount out of it actually. Do it there as well. We'll just take that whole section out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to leave it too hard off that pump. It's through that, so that rubber's squashed around the bolt. Doesn't matter. Tackle that when we take the weight. Fairly decent hole I've put that little bolt into there, and it worked. Alright, so you got enough weight to take these bolts out, or you got them out?
No, I haven't. I stopped. I haven't got enough weight. I'll let you film it.
Put a bit of weight on it, Yep, that'll do. Homemade engine mounts. They must have been sort of grabbing like that other one you did. I need to get the rattle gun out. By the time you plug it in, you've got it out.
Think about it. It's all noise.
Yeah, it is.
Lots of bolts in the older day there.
That's
1,000 washes.
It's metric, so you can't. I haven't got many metric bolts with that thread. I'm sure it is something like that. That's why I would have done it. But that alternator, they have I bought it, and they have a remote regulator. It's not inbuilt.
Oh, right.
So I hooked it up and it was getting hot. I didn't even realise. I think there's two in that one, Mick, because
There is. Oh, Jesus.
it stretches out across to it, where this one doesn't.
Oh, what's going on here?
You want the gun? It's less effort. I'll be able to use a new Neverseas pub you bought me for my birthday and put it back together.
Got hot nuts again. What one? Oh, what's that top one?
Oh, I think that's her.
It's all loose. That's good. What do you do? Just drag it forward a
Yeah,
bit?
you go up again. Yeah, that's it. We'll just have to pull the tractor forward.
Hang on, hang on. Look at that. There's strappy. We'll take one bolt out.
Oh, off the battery lead.
Well, it's not the battery lead. Yes, so.
Yeah, it'd go straight to the battery. That's where I would have earthed it. I was going to clip that around that, but that's all right. Are you going to drive that, Michael? Or?
Yeah. You get around there, you talk to your camera and everything else.
Just got to click that button a few times.
Now I know where you want me to drive. This seat's a bit warm.
Is it? Okay. That's yeah. Fucking I hate old batteries. Just bring it in a bit, Mick, while it's still going.
That it?
Yep. We need to be over here where the action is, G. I'll definitely say that's the problem.
Why for that not centre anymore?
I don't know. Is it? You wouldn't think that much.
Rip the guts out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, no facings on it.
still think it'd be clamping in something, wouldn't you, like holding it there?
Lost facing both sides.
Anyway, that's the problem. We'll just quickly rattle that off and show you while we're going. And
bell housing for the clutch disc. They're pretty thin, the facings.
yeah, you wouldn't know what condition it was in when I put it in there, really.
The bloody
You might have too much power for her. No. Got some sort of weight on her. Well, that's the problem.
Well, there's no drive.
Stop looking, we found it.
Very flat on the back. Just a plate, that's all you know. What's that doing out of there?
Doesn't matter. That'll work. That's that spigot I told you.
Yeah.
I popped the actual spigot out of the Land Cruiser, like the Toyota, and punched that. Got that machine to fit it. So it's got a spline in it.
You see that? Yeah.
So this here is actually off the International motor. I had it. Before the flywheels on there, I made a template up and to pick up the bolts on the Toyota engine. Bolted it up, and then I cut the cone off one side to fit the starter on this side because the oil cooler was on that side in the way. So used some cast rods to weld that back on there, and then I just measured with a straight edge off the front of the transmission to get the depth of both the shafts. And so this flywheel is actually International, not Toyota, and the clutch is original one out of the Grader, so it's only Toyota from the back of the block forward. That's how I did it. It's worked fine. It's not anything I've done that's give up, which is good. That's fine.
Inch and a half. If I read that right, about 38 mil.
Where are you going from that?
Just down
Right
the valley
across?
down the valley.
Yeah, inch and a half, yeah.
11 inch.
What is it? What would you say there?
Well, it's definitely a Galion Grader plate, 11 by inch and a half. Rockford. See how flat it is?
Rockford.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a Rockford brand pressure plate.
Yeah, she's got no.
There's no addition in either
No,
side.
that's right. Nothing
Just
in
a
it.
solid plate. And it's a common thing with solid plates too, actually, rip them off. If not, they shear loose bolts
They've got
off.
no giving, no springs.
Yeah. And I'm surprised those teeth aren't worn thin, because they wear too.
Yep.
Well, they are a little bit, I suppose.
Nothing that's going to hurt us.
No, it's just a plate. Probably 70, 80, or these days might be 100,
Yep.
120. It's been a while. But I didn't get home and get a partner before we were born. I'm sure I got...
You'd have a partner, well, then we've got to find one though, even if we've got a number, don't we? Okay. I'm going to do an outro here. That's what's left of the clutch. They should be obviously every one. A couple of them, looking at it, it's hard to see through the camera, but they're rusty, which means they were already split. There's only a few shiny ones out of the whole lot, so wouldn't have taken much braking. I don't know the condition it was in when we put the engine in here. It's obviously a bit oily too, which would have soaked into the material. You can see that there. I have to take the flywheel off because it'll be all in behind that. The starter wasn't engaging, but then it did. We had to crank it up to lift the blade because it was still driving out of the centre here, not through the clutch blade itself. That shaft goes right through the transmission and runs the hydraulic pump, which is live all the time, regardless whether the clutch is in and out. I'll just pop that off and clean out behind it and get the bits and pieces out and put it all back in. Those are just Loctite in there. So there'll be another episode on this when we put it back together. And thanks everyone for watching.